It is not uncommon to hear a middle or high school age student say that history is their least favorite class. Many will say it is boring, or others might say that it is too hard to understand. Secondary history educators realize this, and we work hard to put in place methods that will aid students in their education as well as keeping them engaged in the classroom. An investigation of how secondary history teachers education candidates implemented research-based instructional practices for instruction was conducted on a cohort of candidates. These candidates were surveyed and interviewed concerning their use of 12 instructional strategies that had a focus on history. The results of this study show that secondary history teachers should apply research-based principles to the design of courses and clinical experiences in order to be the best teachers possible. It is important to engage students with historical understandings as well as historical thinking skills in the history classroom. Michael Simpson notes, the use of primary resources is one of the best methods of interesting students in history because it places them directly in the role of historians. As a historian myself, I have used primary resources countless times to get myself as close as possible to the time in which I was studying. Primary sources will also be incredibly helpful in standard-based teaching. It allows the students to be transported into the time period in which they are studying. It is the closest that we can possibly get to that time period. And so not only is it interesting for the students but it puts them exactly where they need to be, which is so much more than simple answers to a test. It's long-term knowledge that's going to help them as they continue to go throughout their history classes as well as their school experience in general. Learning how to use a primary source for research will equip students with necessary skills to become a historian. The most productive way to teach these history techniques is both incremental and explicit. Teaching historical skills incrementally allows students to see how they fit together in the process of reading and writing history. In addition, these skills need to be taught explicitly within the context of content. In addition to determining the best instructional strategies for teaching historical skills, it is important to determine which strategies are best for engaging students when teaching history. According to Jeffrey Noakes, there are 4 barriers that may limit students' ability to read like historians. These are 1. Analyzing historical documents takes students' cognitive resources beyond their bounds. 2. Misapplying background knowledge based on limited historical knowledge. 3. Possessing unsophisticated views of the world. And 4. Having a false sense of what it means to study history. Teachers must be equipped with instructional strategies for how to overcome these barriers. 3 activities to aid students in engaging in historical documents and conversations are outlined by Avishag Reisman and Sam Weinberg. 1 is providing background knowledge, 2 is asking guiding questions, and 3 is explicitly modeling contextualized thinking. Using these 3 strategies will allow educators to keep their students engaged and on the right track as they continue to learn and apply the knowledge. It is important to have a variety of instructional strategies in order to keep students engaged. As secondary history educators, we must prepare and know these strategies before we enter into our middle or high school classrooms. In conclusion, taking the time to plan strategies to teach by can transform the classroom environment. When students learn how to use primary sources correctly and apply that knowledge to their task at hand, it makes the learning process more enjoyable as well as more effective for them, which makes it even more enjoyable and effective for us as educators as well.